want you to remember this passage because Virgil is saying, there's nothing wrong with me. Unfortunately, I was just unlucky. Okay? This is incorrect. What you will see as we move on is that Virgil chooses to be here. There are many paths for salvation and redemption for him, but he wants to stay in hell. Okay? And why that is the case, we'll talk about later. All right, let's keep on going.
So I descended from the first enclosure down to the second circle, that which girdles less space but grief more great, that goads to weeping. There dreadful Minos stands, gnashing his teeth, examining the sins of those who enter. He judges and assigns all as his tail twines. I mean that when the spirit born to evil appears before him, it confesses all, and he, the connoisseur of sin, can tell the death and hell appropriate to it. As many times as Minos wraps his tail around himself, that marks the sinner's level. Always there is a crowd that stands before him. Each soul in turn advances towards the judgment. They speak and hear, then they are cast below. Arresting his extraordinary task, Minos, as soon as he had seen me, said, "O you who reach this house of suffering, be careful how you enter, whom you trust. The gate is wide, but do not be deceived." To which my guide replied, "But why protest? Do not attempt to block his fated path. Our passage has been willed above, where one can do what he has willed and ask no more." Okay,
so this is a very interesting passage that again makes us question things, okay? So Minos, who's basically deciding which level of hell you go to based on your sin, he basically says to Dante, don't trust anyone here, okay? Don't trust anyone here. Be careful how you enter, whom you trust. The gate is wide, but do not be deceived. Okay, this is a very strange idea, right? Because Minos sees that Dante is with Virgil. And his response is, Dante, you're a good person. I'm telling you right now, don't trust anyone, right? So what he's really saying is, Dante, don't trust Virgil, right? If you think about it logically, it makes no sense for him to say that unless he means don't trust Virgil. Because if Virgil can be trusted, then all Dante has to do is just follow Virgil into hell, and that's it, okay? But Minos makes a point of saying, don't trust anyone here, which is to say, don't trust the person closest to you. Be careful how you enter and whom you trust, okay? And what confirms this is, to which my guide replied, but why protest, okay? So Virgil is jumping in right in and said, hey, shut up, man, okay? Do not attempt to block his fated path. Our passage has been willed above, where one can do what he has willed and ask no more. I represent a higher power than you, Minos. All right? So again, this is questioning the reliability of the narrator. What's happening is that Dante is planting seeds, giving us clues that in hell, nothing is what it seems. The person that we most trust, Virgil, is the person we should probably least trust. Okay? All right, so everything that Virgil says, we have to question. All right, so again, Virgil and Dante are in the first layer of hell, and this is lust, and Virgil is pointing out to Dante who they are. Okay, can you read, Ivory?
The first of those about whose history you want to know, my master then told me, once ruled as empress over many nations. Her vice of lust became so customary that she made license licit in her laws to free her from the scandal she had caused. She is Semiramis, of whom we read that she was Ninus' wife and his successor. She held the land the Sultan now commands. That other spirit killed herself for love, and she betrayed the ashes of Sacius. The wanton Cleopatra follows next. See Helen, for whose sake so many years of evil had to pass. See great Achilles, who finally met love in his last battle. See Paris, Tristan, and he points out and named to me more than 1,000 shades departed from our life because of love. No sooner had I heard my teacher name the ancient ladies and the knights than pity seized me, and I was like a man astray.
Okay, so this again is a paradox, okay? And again, it's almost impossible to see this paradox by yourself. But the paradox is this. What Virgil will do is basically point out 1,000 shades, okay? And he'll provide all the names of these people. Okay, an example is Cimaris, and then you have Cleopatra, you have Helen, you have Achilles, you have Paris, you have Tristan. Okay, so he's naming everyone. But there's one shade he does not name. And the other spirit who killed herself for love, and she betrayed the ashes of Sychaeus, we know who this person is because this person is Dido. And who is Dido? Dido is the creation of Virgil. So the grand paradox, the irony is there's 1,000 people and the person that Virgil refuses to acknowledge by name is the one that he understands the best, who he is most intimate with. Okay? And this creates the question, why is this the case? Why does he refuse to name Dido? So if you go back to the Iliad, the one thing that stands out about the Iliad is that Dido is the most realistic character. It's really the character that most people, when they read the Iliad, they sympathize with. Because Dido feels real, but at the same time, Dido didn't really deserve her fate. Okay? So it is Virgil who cast Dido into hell. Right? And this contrasts with Dante, who will elevate Beatrice, his love, to heaven. All right? So already we are seeing a contrast, a paradox. Okay? Virgil condemned Dido to hell. Dante elevated Beatrice to heaven. And Dante is longing for Beatrice, and then Virgil forgets that Dido even existed. He even refuses to name her. Okay, and the question then is why? So, because Dido is a realistic character, we can assume that Dido is based on a person that Virgil knows. But not only that, we can also make the assumption that Virgil pursued Dido, fell in love with Dido, and Dido rejected him probably because he was an ugly asshole, okay? And so Virgil got really angry and decided that I will condemn Dido to hell. But in his heart, Virgil knows that this was unfair, that this was pure hatred. And so he feels a bit guilty about it, he feels embarrassed about it, and that's why he refuses to acknowledge Dido. He refuses to face Dido for what he did, okay? But then something interesting happens, all right? Okay, can you read?
My first words, poet, I should willingly speak with those two who go together there and seem so lightly carried by the wind. And he to me, you'll see when they draw closer to us, and then you may appeal to them by that love which impels them.